On Shalom TV, this is our evening of solidarity with the people of Israel. And I've been so impressed and moved by both the Jewish leadership that has been willing to give us some time and has shared some of their own feelings, and by your phone calls. I thank you very, very much. Having Micah in the studio is also
Alan,
wonderful.
thank you.
And very, very soon we will have Ran Eliran and his guitar joining us. But right now, I want to play an interview I had earlier today with an individual. You know, if there's one person I want you to hear, it's Alan Dershowitz. And he has become perhaps the most articulate spokesperson defending the state of Israel. And here he comes out of a liberal tradition. And yet when it comes to Israel, he has no hesitancy in fighting for the rights of the Jewish people in the state of Israel. He, of course, is the former esteemed professor of law at Harvard University. He has written more books than I can count. He's the author, most recently, of Taking the Stand, My Life in the Law. And we caught up with Alan today on Martha's Vineyard, and he was kind enough to give us some time to talk about, again, the painful events that have transpired over the last 2.5 weeks, culminating in a funeral that took place today for 3, what Micah calls angels. I want you to hear my conversation now with Alan Dershowitz. Alan, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, this is a very sad day and a very dangerous time. And whenever anything like this happens, I always think of talking to you and to your audience.
I am very, very appreciative, and we all are. And, you know, I said to you when we were setting up this conversation, there were many, many people I was hoping that would participate. I wanted no one more than I wanted you, because you have been at the forefront of, within a liberal American perspective, of defending the state of Israel in a most eloquent way. And so I very much wanted to hear, first, Alan, how did you react personally when you first heard about the kidnapping and then tragically the bodies were found and the boys are dead?
Well, ironically, I was in Israel, and we were in the tunnel that was dug between Gaza and the kibbutzim right outside of Gaza, a tunnel that the Israelis fortunately found because its exit was right near a kindergarten in a kibbutz where 57 young children would have been kidnapped or killed had that tunnel been completed and had Hamas been able to send its murdering terrorists into that tunnel. And I was there when the kidnapping was first revealed. And then 2 days later, I was having dinner with Prime Minister Netanyahu and his wife Sarah, and obviously the kidnapping was a major subject of our discussion. I had great suspicions based on what I knew when I was in Israel and had been told that I was in Israel, that the outcome would not be a happy one.
Yes.
But we couldn't know for sure. We knew relatively for sure that the child who had called had been killed, the child who had made the phone call saying he had been kidnapped. But the hope was perhaps the other two were being held for prisoner exchange or ransom. So, you know, I felt angry. I can't imagine how somebody, no matter how much they hate Jews, how much they hate Israel, could look a 16-year-old boy in the eye and take his life for no good reason other than that he is a Jew.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I said to myself, this is not about politics at the moment. At the same time, it's impossible to see this event, Alan, and not ask oneself all kinds of questions about the difference in culture and the difference in orientation and the difference in what peoples are striving for. And every now and then, Alan, I will come across American Jews, and I believe they think they're very committed to Israel, and it's not appropriate for me to tell them they're not. But their perspective is, that there is a moral equivalency, that both sides are guilty, that Israel is guilty of certain kinds of brutality, and that the occupation itself is humiliating and brutal to the Palestinians?
Well, I think philosophers have told us over the years that the worst form of treachery is to be neutral when there are enormous differences. Look, Switzerland was neutral between the Nazis and Western democracy. Nobody praised them for that. The New York Times had an outrageous article the day that the boys were found dead. Outrageous article creating a moral equivalence between Israel's act of self-defense in accidentally killing a young Palestinian who was throwing rocks, Molotov cocktails, hand grenades at 18-year-old soldiers, making a moral equivalence between that and the cold-blooded kidnapping and ultimate murder of three young teenagers who were not soldiers. The difference between killing a combatant in the middle of conduct and a 16-year-old who's throwing a hand grenade or a rock is a combatant under international law and under all principles of morality. But a kid coming home from yeshiva for Shabbos is not a combatant. And the idea that the New York Times would create that moral equivalence, which it does all the time, when you hear the term cycle of violence,
yes,
you don't realize that it's not a cycle. On one side, there are terrorists who hide behind civilians, who dig shelters only for the terrorists, won't allow the civilians to go in the shelters because they want their civilians to be killed by Israel because that gives them a good story. And Israel, which spends hundreds of millions of dollars building shelters for its civilians, puts its soldiers in harm's way to protect them, and has the lowest ratio of civilian deaths among its enemies to combat deaths of any country in the history of the world, including the United States. No country has had a better record of preventing civilian deaths. I mean, even when Israel goes in, as they did last night, and has 34 strikes, they give warnings in advance. And, you'll notice that there are very, very few reports of deaths among those strikes. The strikes were on military targets, the exact opposite of what the terrorists do. The terrorists aim at school buses. They aim at school children. And you know where they put their tunnels? The entrance to the tunnels. These are tunnels that are designed solely to kidnap and kill Israeli children and civilians. The tunnels, the entrance, are placed underneath hospitals, underneath kindergartens, and underneath mosques, so that they know Israel is not going to bomb a mosque or bomb a hospital, even if it means taking risks to their own civilians. So to create any kind of a moral comparison, you read in the paper the other day that the mother of one of the young Palestinians who was killed throwing rocks said she trained her children to be martyrs. She wanted them to die. She wanted her other children who were still alive to go out and become martyrs. There was one woman who said she had 11 children. She wanted every one of them to die as a martyr. Another one said, and I quote them in several of my books, another one said to her son who was going off to fight against Israel, if you come back alive, don't even speak to me. I don't want to see you alive. I want to see you dead. I mean, when you think about that, and of course you can't generalize, the vast majority of Palestinians, the vast majority of Arabs, the vast majority of Muslims love their children like anybody else loves their children. But these extremists who incite their own children to become martyrs, it's just unthinkable.
Yes.
And as Golda Meir once said, we may perhaps someday forgive you for killing our children, but we can never forgive you for making us kill your children. And it's so hard for an Israeli to kill a young person even in combat, and it seems so easy for these terrorists to have killed 3 innocent young boys just coming home to their family for a Sabbath meal.
I want to ask you a different kind of question. Your own history, your personal history, as someone who has dealt with so many crucial legal cases in the United States, and you have not only done controversial cases, you've done cases where there's been real pain of families that you've had to deal with. You experienced in Israel this last week what you saw what the mothers went through, the fathers went through, and the Israeli people. I want you to speak to me for a moment about your sense of the Israeli spirit that was somehow able to endure this horrific tragedy.
Well, it endures, but it endures it with great difficulty.
Yes.
The strongest people in the world, and I was with this past week in Israel, I was with generals, I was with prime ministers, I was with the newly elected president, I was with the former Air Force pilots. They were all strong, but every one of them was crying, if not in their tears in their eyes, in their hearts, because they pretty much expected what the result was going to be. So yeah, there's strength and there's resilience, but beneath that there is a feeling of how do we deal with the inhumanity on the other side? How do you make peace with people who would kill 16-year-olds? Well, the answer is you have to try, but trust but verify. You can't do anything based on an assumption that they will do the right thing. It always has to be based on the ability to defend oneself.
Alan, does it wear your own idealism down? No, it can never wear it down, because I have to be, among other people, on the forefront, advising and defending, and so you can never get worn down. You have to strengthen yourself. Look, I spoke to my cousin just yesterday, who's a rabbi in Sderot, and he knew these kids, and his students knew these kids. This is not an abstraction. This is not three pictures. These are three kids who would have grown up perhaps to become leaders of their country and, fathers and grandfathers. As the Talmud says, he who kills a single human being is as if he's killed the whole world. By killing these three kids, generations of wonderful people will never exist in this world. And it's so easy to kill, and it's so hard to forgive when this happens. And we're not in the mood for forgiveness. We're in the mood to prevent and make sure it doesn't happen again. And I think Israel has to take whatever actions are necessary to prevent any recurrence of this. It's impossible to prevent 100%. Yes. But they have to do everything they can. All right. And even if it means that some people on the other side will suffer, you have to make those hard choices. So sum it up for us. What's the message you would like to see the American Jewish community and the American people take away from this incident? The American Jewish community must stand strongly behind Israel. Israel is not perfect, but we can't demand perfection of a country that is facing this kind of enmity, this kind of irrational enmity. And I call for the American Jewish community, the American Christian community, all people of goodwill, American Muslims who care about life, to stand strongly behind Israel as they face this kind of danger. Remember, the greatest victims of Arab and Muslim atrocities are Arabs and Muslims. So we're in this together, and Christians, and Jews, and ultimately Americans. And so we have to stand united in the fight against this kind of terrorism. Alan, thank you so much for giving us some time. Again, there's no one I want to hear more. There's no one I want to make sure the audience hears more. You are doing extraordinary work, and I have to get you back in the studio as soon as I can. But have a wonderful rest of the summer, Alan. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. Be well. Thank you. Bye. And again, like everybody who's preceded him, says so many thoughtful things, makes us think. And on the one hand, he's taking a very, very strong stand in support of the State of Israel. At the same time, he's asking us to be as embracing of people as we can possibly be. And from my perspective, that's the essence of being involved in the Jewish tradition and being a mensch and being a lovely, gentle, and kind human being. You feel strongly about defending yourself and your family and your people. At the same time, you do everything you can to embrace others and never, ever forget what the pain of others is. But one has a right to say, my pain is real, and no one has a right to inflict that pain upon me. It's interesting. Very often you'll hear Jews quote the famous line by Hillel, if I am not for myself, who will be? If I'm for myself alone, what am I? If not now, when? But it begins with, if I am not for myself. Even the great line that's quoted by Rabbi Akiva from the Torah that the greatest line in the Torah is, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Very, very often people don't realize it begins with love of yourself. Out of love of oneself, meaning out of a sense of who one is and having a sense of self-respect and self-dignity. Out of that comes an understanding that every human being has dignity, and that one tries as much as one can to really embrace all people in as positive and as embracing a spirit as is possible. Anyway, Alan Dershowitz, and again, he often and so often goes out of his way to be with us on Shalom TV. I give him a lot of credit. And Alan, if you're watching, I thank you very, very much. And his new book is Taking the Stand, My Life in the Law. So lucky, lucky me. Not only are these individuals kind enough to give us a phone call, not only are you, our viewers, kind enough to participate in the show and say some very, both lovely but very perceptive things. I have a dear friend sitting next to me. This is Ran Eliran. This is, you know, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. How long have you been doing this?
Oh, forever.
Long, forever, right? And, you know my wife Ruth, and you know she adores you, and you always kid her because, you know, she had your first album and she was in love with you. This is before she met me. She was in love. She was in love with you, and the truth of the matter is, you have made a contribution to Jewish life, not simply the state of Israel, to Jewish life. You know, for your entire creative life. You know, isn't it amazing?
It's not consciously. It's just that I was brought up in a time and good stock and chalutzim.
Yes.
My parents were pioneers. People don't know. They see me. I joke around. I sing. I'm a pretty old man by now, you know, and I started as a kid when Israel was not born yet.
Yes.
And that Zionistic idealism of we, the connectedness, what can we tell, the beginning of our soul and the end of us and the behaving is Israel and Judaism. There's nothing, you cannot divorce it.
That's beautiful. I do want to know how you, as someone who loves Israel, and you know it's in your blood, and
you're born to it.
Of course. And we have witnessed these horrible 2.5 weeks, and I want to know how you feel and how you felt and how you view it now, Ron.
You know, as an Israeli, there's a history of hostages, but cruelty. Well, the first time I was exposed to cruelty as a kid, not as a kid, when the war. I'm not talking about I'm known for Shalom TVapos, the great victory of the 6-Day War, but I've seen cruelty on the other side. It's unimaginable. Mm-hmm. During the Yom Kippur War, I've seen bodies of soldiers in the Golan Heights that still bother me. And the first thought is poor kids, you know. And then most Israelis knew somehow that the people who committed this couldn't get away with 3 live children moving with all the surveillance that we have. And we kind of had a hunch that they would be gone pretty early. But when you see the facts, everybody shook up. I just came back from Israel, and I thank God I'm doing very well performing. I'm being considered as an icon already, because most of my competitors are Tiffen Dreher, already gone. But so I had a lot of good success, and I'm connected all the time by phone, by the internet, and it's a hard day. I just spoke to my nephew. It's a very hard day today in Israel. Mm-hmm. It's heavy. The air is dense, and people are walking, you know, with a grim feeling. Because what is the next step? You know, there was a gentleman talking about not being angry. How can you help not being angry? And I started out as a real leftist. I started out, my first turn to the right was when Arafat was starting to lie to us. And it keeps going. You keep going to the right because we're hated. They can't stand our existence there. What can I tell you? Maybe I should sing you a song instead.
In one moment, I want you to just tell me, where do the Israeli people find it within themselves to keep going?
It's not only the Israelis, the human beings, you know. You can go through a lot of difficulties, but the survival instinct is so strong. But in Israel, and I think less in the life of the Jews in other places in the world, in Israel, you have many brothers and sisters. You know, you're like a wall. You have this security, feeling that you belong, feeling that nobody's going to let you down in time of crisis, in war, in facing death. So you have the strength. You have the strength of being together. Here we are, and I don't want to be corny. God gave us this land. We are here, and like Ben Gurion used to say, our secret weapon is ein brera.
There's no choice. No choice. The Jewish people, the Israeli people, will transcend this horrible experience.
Yeah, of course. We'll have to go to the next step. The question is how to deal with the upheaval of a primitive world around you that's falling apart constantly. Our biggest luck, our biggest really muzzle is that they hate each other. They're going to kill each other, hopefully. It's like tribe. I came from Haifa, and Haifa is very Arab when I grew up. But families used to have feuds. They said, they were running around with knives. I remember as a kid, my father had a bakery for cakes, conditoria we call it. And he had Arab workers, and they used to fight this family against this, then this one. Somehow, when it comes to Israel, all of a sudden they're together. So it's our fate. What are you going to do? It's like... we're going to be miserable for a long time, but we're going to be happy.
So Ran Eliran has written a song. He's written many songs.
No, this is a translation. I translated it.
Yes, it's a translation, right. Explain the story, and then I want you to do
this song. This song, a friend of mine who's one of the most beautiful poets in Israel, he passed away, Ehud Manor. And the words are so beautiful. I'll sing it first in Hebrew. It's what an Israeli mother feels about the land and existence and life. להיוולד כל בוקר מחדש עם כל מילת פרידה למות מעט ולהביא אל העולם עוד בן ובת אל ארץ של חלב מרור ודבש ללכת שבי אחריי לנשום את השמש הצורר לחלום עלייך מול שמיים לטעום להכאב to watch the sun when the day begins, to love and hope through sorrow and through fear, with open eyes to face the ancient dream, to carry on whatever life may bring. I walk in your fields, in your valley. I hold the sweet earth in my hand. I taste the bitter milk and honey. I feel the pain and fall in love again. ללכת שבי אחרייך, לנשום את השמש הצורר, לחלום אותך מול שמייך, לכאוב אותך ושוב להתאהב.
יופי, מצוין, מצוין. Just gorgeous, just gorgeous. Just gorgeous.
תודה. Thank you. Thank God.
One more. Do one more before we have to go on to something else. Give me one more song. Anything you want. What do you feel like tonight?
Well, I feel like actually this is a Hasidic song.
Please.
And it is, I don't know, some wise old Hasidim wrote it, and they said, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od. The whole world is a narrow bridge.
Yes.
And the image of a narrow bridge over Tehom, over darkness. And the chorus says right away, takes your hand and leads you forward and says, V'ha'ikar, the main thing, lo lefached, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid klal at all.
Gorgeous.
Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, gesher tzar me'od. והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל. והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל.
The incomparable Ran Eliran. Toda rabba. You stay around. You're going to come back one more time for me, yes?
I certainly hope so.
Okay. Just amazing. And I could listen to him. I do listen to him all the time, and he has become a very dear friend. And you know, it's one of the nice byproducts of doing this kind of work. You meet extraordinary people like Micah Halpern, and you meet Ran Eliran, and you get to know them. And as brilliant as they are even more lovely. So lucky me. I want to put our phone number back up on the screen, and we have some time to take some phone calls. Let me tell you that coming up is a conversation with Abe Foxman that is just fascinating. Abe Foxman also was in the home of the mothers. You heard that Jerry Silverman at the very beginning of our program talked about how he was with the mothers and the fathers. And Abe Foxman was in Israel during this period of time, and he was with the mothers who were grieving, and he tells an extraordinary story I want you to hear. So Abe Foxman will come up a little later in this half hour, and then after that we'll have our last hour together in this evening of solidarity for the people of Israel. And one of the reasons, when I said to Ron, would you please come out and be with us tonight, I said, look, you represent the people of Israel. Sometimes I hear people talk about Israel as if it were an inanimate object. You should love Israel. And I've tried to tell people that it's not about loving Israel. It's about loving the fact that there are human beings there. Our family is there. We come back to the point we made a little bit earlier in the program. It's all about people. It's all about family. And the state of Israel is our family. Anyway, it is wonderful to have Ron here. We're going to take a phone call now. We're going to stay in New Jersey, and we're going to welcome Sarah. Again, please turn the volume of your television down so that when you hear my voice on the telephone, you'll know you're on the air and you can talk right away. It's Sarah from Teaneck.
Yes.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us, darling.
Thank you for taking my call. I just want to express how devastated I am, my entire family, by the great loss. And we want all to know that we all share the sorrow of these courageous families. Unfortunately, the Jewish nation we have outlived the Assyrian kings, the Egyptian pharaohs, the Roman Caesars, the Arabian caliphs, the Titus, the Hamans, the Torquemada, Hitler, and now, of course, the Arab terrorists. A word of chizuk, know that God is with us, and Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai. I'm sorry, you live where again, in Teaneck?
I live in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Okay, and are you affiliated with the synagogue?
The synagogue?
Are you affiliated with a synagogue?
Affiliated. I thought you said a synagogue. There are many synagogues here in Teaneck.
Yes. Well, it sounds like you are both a lovely person and a very committed Jew. And it's very nice that you would take the time to call us tonight. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for taking my call.
Right. We're going to go to Malvern, New York, and welcome Shlomo. Shlomo, thank you for joining us. Shlomo, turn your TV down.
Hello.
Hello, Shlomo. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You're on the air. What's your point?
Rabbi Golub, first
Yes.
of all, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you, and I would like you to help you in whatever way to bring to the attention of the American Jewish community this revolutionary instrument of public Jewish education, and there is nothing comparable to Shalom TV. I keep on saying
so
this
sweet.
again and again wherever I can.
Thank you very, very much. What's your reaction, Shlomo, to the events of these past 2 weeks and the culmination today of this funeral?
Rabbi Golub, this day today reminds me of the Erev of the 6 Day War. I don't presume and don't want to take the time to add anything that I have to say, because all the people that you have represented the most inner feelings of all of us.
Thank you for saying it.
I can only say that as a Jewish educator and a survivor, I wrote my dissertation on Jewish education in the DP camps, and my major section of that dissertation is devoted to the scroll of agony of the Jewish child during the Holocaust, of the 1.5 million Jewish children that perished.
Yes.
Today is the day where this all comes to fore. I only hope that we Jews, unfortunately, we know that not all Jews come to synagogue, not all Jews are affiliated, not all Jews where they should be, but a day like this should galvanize us and to live up to the responsibility of our generation living Jews, those who have seen the Shoah and those who have the privilege of living the day, the realization of a 2,000-year-old dream coming to fruition. And all our efforts should be directed in that for that purpose. And there is being what the situation that we have, the best instrumentality is Jewish education. Shalom TV is fulfilling a revolutionary mission, and I want to congratulate you. On a personal note, I just want to tell you that Rabbi Art Vernon, a classmate of yours.
Yes. Well, Shlomo, first of all, your words touch me in a very, very profound way, and they're very, very, very embracing of me and encouraging of me. I am very, very grateful. I am thrilled to be able to be part of something that is, as you say, really a fundamentally Jewish educational effort. People say to me, "Are you in Jewish television?" I say, "No, I'm not. I'm in Ohev Yisrael. That's my business." And what Ohev Yisrael means as a lover of Israel, and Israel here has the double meaning of both the state of Israel and the people of Israel. The whole goal is, as you say, to educate. So I'm very, very touched. I also found the personal story that you told very, very moving. So thank you, Shlomo. We're going to go to Union City and welcome Robert, Union City, New Jersey. Robert, thank you for joining us.
Yes, this is your friend from Union City, Rabbi.
How are you, Robert?
I always call in. I was in my car the other day, and I heard the news on WINS, and they say that grown men don't cry. I was on River Road in Edgewater, and I was coming home, and I still have a tear in my eye.
I understand, Robert. It's very sweet of you to call.
Just murder.
I understand.
Every voice.
Yes.
And you, thank you from the bottom of my heart
Thank you, Robert.
for bringing this show.
Thank you for saying that. Very touching, isn't it? It's very touching. Yeah, go ahead.
This streaming of emotion is unbelievable.
Isn't it very moving?
And because of you, you should really get a lot of credit.
No.
But I'm telling you, because like you see those papers, if you give me those papers, because I wouldn't dare do anything that I'm planning to do right now in any other show with any other person, because you're so open and emotionally sincere. I wrote this piece 3 years ago. Gilad Shalit was in their hands in darkness, in a tunnel, God knows where he was, for 5 years. You know what it does? Those kids tragically died. But when you are 5 years disconnected from everything, many a time before he was brought back, there was a negotiation, and I kept dreaming about it. I dreamt about it, and I tried to assume the world that he was in, and I wrote this little thing.
Please do it for us.
If I can just read a little bit.
Please.
I call it a hostage monologue. Darkness. Walking through the tunnel of time, entangled, fumbling and losing my way, crawling, afraid to raise my head for fear of getting hit, afraid to open my eyes and look back. Memories are islands of light in a sea of darkness, looking for a sign, for something. Give me a branch, a leaf, a sliver of light, a trail of white cloud. I want to go back, but where's the road? Where do I turn? On my knees, robbed of my glasses. I don't see clearly, but I can hear. I recognize the voices, and I call out to them. I call out to the beautiful and smiling familiar faces of my friends, but nobody answers. Give me a chance. Just give me a chance, I cry out. But nobody answers. They don't give me a chance. Nobody gives me a chance. Nobody gives you anything for free in this life. In this life, I hear an echo, but the voice that returns isn't mine. I hear the words, but they don't repeat my words. Those are other words, other voices, voices of strangers, hard, harsh, and threatening. They are hitting me from a distance, from within. Hey, you are a soldier in a war with no compromises. You are a ram to be sacrificed. And Father Abraham is not standing by, and there's no God coming down from the sky. You're alone, completely on your own. You're a hostage inside your own head. A whispering voice in a silent universe. A shadowless tree in the middle of a desert. And you want so much to go back, to return. But where to? To whom? To what? It's been so long, you are confused. Did you forget? Did they forget? Have they forgotten you? Are you the forgotten one? You've lost your voice, lost your shadow, your direction. Can you go on? But then you take a deep breath and say to yourself, there still is hope. Just give me a sign. Give me a sound, a voice, a spark of light, a glimmering star, a little heat wave brushing against the cold, an iron chain dragging on a metal floor, the sound of a creaking hinges of a rusty door, anything but this walking again, walking slowly, step by step in a circle, counting numbers again, number after number, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just not to walk again in darkness, walking and counting again, forwards and backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, just stop and try to remember, try to recall. What do you see? Oh, my birthday. I'm a child again. Surrounded by candles and toys, hugs and kisses, warmth and love, tears of happiness. And I'm the family's pride. I'm the golden boy. How old was I? Mama looks so pretty. And Daddy's so smart, smiling and glowing, all dressed up. And Grandpa from the corner is winking, drowning in all the good wishes, the presents and the flowers and all the good dishes. Suddenly, boom, an explosion. Everything erupts and explodes inside. Like a huge traffic accident, like missiles colliding. And then it stops cold and comes to a halt. And like a movie, like the projector's wheels start turning again. Time is slowly moving again in infinite slow motion, in its old familiar fashion of yesterday, today, and tomorrow train. And I'm in it, trapped inside my own reality show. My body gripped tight and choking in a fatal terminal squeeze. No escape. But what about words? There are all the words. Thank God there are words in books, in stories, in the descriptions on everyday moment of life. They fill my head like a trillion fish swimming in water. But these fishes are silky and sneaky, arrogant, pushy, fighting to reach the top of the heap, nasty, disturbing the order of memory pieces inside my head, my hours, my days, my months and years. Everything is getting jumbled and mixed up. I'm getting dizzy. I must sit down. I must sit down. I must stop. Please give me a sign. Where is the north? Where is Jerusalem? Where is Tel Aviv? And the Jordan River? Where's my country? Where's the army? Where's the world? And God? There's only darkness. Sometimes I forget the important rules, the things I must always do. I must never lose control of myself. I must never get lost. Never again. Perhaps I should get up and start walking again. Counting 11, 12, 13, 14, numbers. Thank God there are numbers. So many numbers. There are a lot of numbers. And come to think of it, they're never alone. They always come in groups. Groups of 10, 20, 30, 100, 200, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and me, I'm only one. I'm only one. One soldier getting lost, walking and counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Counting forwards and backwards, counting in the dark, waiting for one ray of light to finally appear, clear and bright, at the end of this long tunnel of night.
Yotze min haklal. Just fabulous. Just fabulous. You know what, Sloan? We're going to go to a break. We come back, we'll do the last segment with our audience. We'll begin with Abe Foxman, who, again, spoke to me today, and I very much want you to hear it. It's wonderful. We'll do Abe Foxman. We'll have Micah back. We'll have a little more of Ran Eliran, and we'll have more of you as we sort of work towards the end of this extraordinary evening that you have made possible. An evening of solidarity for the people of Israel, and in memory and celebration of 3 young teenagers who will live forever in the hearts not only of their mothers and fathers and family, but in some way they will become part of Jewish history now forever. Please stay with us.